This is the template for the 2 color wheels that we are doing in today's lesson.
Okay, welcome to the first, I guess we'll call this spring class, although it doesn't look very spring-like outside right now, but it is the second session that I've had this in this time period. So it's acrylics Friday morning, and I have a lot of new students, so we are starting really basic today. And this is something that all artists need to do, and that's to make a color wheel. You know, I know you can go and buy color wheels that are already made, but I'll tell you that that doesn't do it. You need the experience of actually making your own color wheel to understand what it's about. Looking at it doesn't go into your brain. You have to do it. And so I printed out two, I've asked you to get 2 of these color wheels, and we're doing 2 because one of the things about colors, there's a lot of things about colors, but one of the things is that colors are either warm or cool, okay? And there's 2 different ways of saying warm and cool. There's one way that, like, red is warm and blue is cool. I mean, everybody would understand that. Red is like hot, like fire, and blue is like cool, like water. Okay, that's one way of saying it. But the other way is the actual mixture of the colors themselves. And there are warm sets of colors and cool sets of colors. And it's very important to know the difference. And it's important that when you start a painting, you know if you're going to do a cool painting or a warm painting, and you stay within that color range. And so we're doing 2 color wheels, one warm color wheel and one cool color wheel. The other thing about colors is they have lots of different names, and the paint companies all come up with their own names, and they sometimes use different minerals to make the colors, and so sometimes that's an issue. One of the things I just found out this last session is that there's a magenta out there that is not quinacridone magenta, and it's terrible. It comes out really pink. So, excuse me a minute. Clear my throat here. So that, I don't like that magenta. It needs to be quinacridone magenta. And usually, most of the different paint companies, if they call it quinacridone magenta, they've used the same minerals to make it, and it's going to be the same color throughout different paint companies. The other thing is, I put Indian yellow down. Well, there's also something called acrylamide yellow, which is pretty much the same. And you're going to start understanding these different colors when you start understanding what is warm and what is cool. Okay? So we're going to start off. I usually use, for this project, just a pointed brush and about a number 10 or number 8 in that, you know, they number all the brushes. So it's about medium size. You need a good bucket of water, and I said a bucket, and everybody goes, well, what size bucket? Well, these they have at Home Depot, and they're pretty good size. The reason I want this big of a bucket is because as you rinse off your brushes, it's going to get more and more filled with paint, and it's going to be not as pure, and it's going to affect the colors you put in there. So if you have a small bottle, and some people do, and that's fine, just know that you need to go and refresh the water every once in a while. That's a good size right there you've got. So anyway, now at the top of this color wheel, I have 3 squares. And you're going to start, what I want you to do is, I'm going to do the cool right now. And write cool at the top of the paint, at the top of the thing. And then I just want you simply to put each of the colors, the cool colors, and the cool colors are, I have them there, Pyrrole Red. And you know what this is, and there's other naphthol red, it's called sometimes, but it's a red. You know, when you look at it, it's not magenta, it's red, you know. And so that, put that in one of the little squares. And you don't have to stay within the lines necessarily. You know what, I think could you have me a couple paper towels? Sure. I left my paper towels in my car. Now, one of the things about using acrylics is you need a lot of water. If your paint is dragging on the brush, you need more water, okay? You need to have enough water to make it really liquidy. And I'm leaving you guys in the lurch here. My advanced students, you can go ahead and get started on one of those little pieces of paper that I have, because what you're going to be doing is mixing two secondaries to make tertiaries. So you've got to mix the secondaries first, and then you mix them together. And what you should end up with on your little square is something like this. Can you see that? So this is orange and green, is a citrine, violet and green is an olive, and orange and violet is a russet. These are tertiaries. And it's much more advanced to use tertiaries and to learn to use tertiaries as you go forward. In our first project, I'm going to encourage the advanced students at least to work with tertiaries on that project. And then after you finish doing each of these colors, start doing variations. So take orange and green and mix various different combinations of the oranges and greens till you can get a whole lot of colors on there. Take another one, do the violet and green, mix all of those, and you're going to get a whole lot of colors. So you're going to see how many, these are neutrals, because neutrals, just to explain to everyone, neutrals are when all three primaries are together, are there in the paint. But there are huge numbers of neutrals. Look at this. And you can just get all kinds of different colors. And so just to practice getting all those different colors would be really good. And it's really makes for a strong painting to use neutrals, by the way. Okay, so I put the red down, I rinsed out my brush, thoroughly cleaned it, and put more water and put down the ultramarine blue. Are the advanced student, you know what you're doing? Pretty much.
If we don't, we pretend.
Or pretend like you do, yeah. Or figure out another way to do it. I love that. That's what my art students do. I'll just do it my way. Okay, and then the yellow in this is a really kind of these are really basic colors. This is what we think of red, yellow, and blue. And the yellow is a lemon yellow or a cadmium yellow, but it's yellow. Okay, so you should have something like this as you get started. And what you're going to do after you get those three colors on the top is you're going to put each of these colors in one of these spaces. And they have to have 3 spaces between them. Okay? So it doesn't matter where you start with. You can start with the yellow up here, start the red up here, it doesn't matter. But you put the red, leave 3 spaces, put the blue or the yellow, leave 3 spaces, put the yellow. Leave 3 spaces. So there are 3 spaces in between each one. Okay? So these are called primary colors. And the reason they're primary is because you can't mix them. There's nothing you can do to mix these colors. You have to buy them. They have to be made by the manufacturers with a combination of different minerals, and you have to buy them. And there's no other way getting around them. They're primaries. Okay? So there's no going back to them. And that's the same in the warm, when we do the warm also. Those are also primaries. So these are primary colors. Every other color there is, and there are lots of different colors, come from combinations of these primaries and black and white. So when you look at the walls of this room, the primaries are involved, but that's a tint on these walls, and so it's got a lot of white in it. you know, to bring it down. But there's color in there. It's not pure white. If you put your paper up next to it, it's not the same color as the wall. So it has the primaries in there. Okay? So, I'll let you guys move along, and then I want to talk to my advanced students. Some people are done with their 3. If you're not, that's okay. Everybody works at their own pace in here, so I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so if you've done your 3 colors, and I'm just going to put a little here, a little 1, 2, 3, and you have your 3 spaces in between. I'll have to color that in later. Then go to your 3 spaces and pick the middle one between them. That would be the next step. And that middle one should be, that's your secondary color. And a secondary color is when you combine 2 primaries. Okay, only 2, not 3. If you go to 3, you're going to get a neutral, or you're going to get mud. You know, that's what neutrals are. They're kind of mud colors. Yeah. And but you never on this color wheel never combine all 3 of them together. So you take, if I want to take the blue and the yellow, I want to get a really good secondary green. So this should be a green that is right in the middle between the blue and yellow. It's the green, you know, what you think of as green grass. And that goes in the middle one between these 2. And I got to tell you that it doesn't mean that you make equal amounts of the 2 colors, because blue is a very strong, deep color. Yellow is a very weak color. So I'm going to have to put more yellow in that to get a medium green than I would blue. So you just have to eye it so that you look at it and say, that looks like a real medium green. Same with the blue and the red, you want a medium violet. And I have to say that the violet that you're going to get almost looks black, because these are both very strong colors, and we're not putting any white with this to lighten it. If you put white with it, it's going to look more violet. But it's going to look almost black here, because you've got strong blue and strong red. And that's okay, that's where it's supposed to look. Then the last one you do is the red and the yellow, and you put that in the middle one between red and yellow, and that should be a real orange, like an orange that you see, like an orange of that, over there, that bag that's real orange, or an orange that you would buy in the store. So you're going to have to kind of just look at that and kind of figure out what that would be in a very medium color. Those are the secondary colors, okay? So we've got primary down, we're adding secondary. Okay, now we did the primaries, red, yellow, blue. We did secondaries, orange, green, and violet. And now we're going to go do tertiaries. And there were 3 of each of the 2 primaries and secondaries, but there are 6 tertiaries. And what you want to do with that is go to each of these secondaries and mix a secondary with a primary. So this will be mixing yellow with green and making a yellow-green, okay? Mixing green and blue and making a blue-green. So there should be a incremental change in each of these. Taking the blue and purple and making a bluish purple. Taking the purple and red and making a reddish purple. Taking the red and orange and making an orangish red, and taking a yellow and orange and making yellowish red. And that's your 12 parts of the color wheel. Okay, I think most of you have finished at least the first color wheel. And so this is the cool color wheel. I want you to do the same thing with the warm color wheel. And I have the colors that you use up on the board. Quinacridone magenta for the red, phthalo blue for the blue, and Indian yellow or acrylamide yellow for the yellow. And there may be some other names like that. But it tends to be an orangey yellow, just to let you know. Like I said, each of these colors leans toward one or the other. So in the cool colors that we were just working on, this yellow tends to lean toward the blue. And this red tends to lean toward the yellow. And this blue tends to lean toward the red. In the other ones, and the ones that you're going to be doing on the warm colors, it's different. You're going to have a magenta that leans toward the blue. As I said, this red leans toward the yellow, magenta leans toward the blue. And what's really important about knowing the difference between these is it makes a big difference in how your painting turns out when you do it. If you're using a warm palette, you get one set of colors, and if you use a cool palette, you get another set of colors. And one of the things I've noticed with my students, if you are trying to do a landscape or a sunset or a sunrise, and if you're using these cool colors, it will not work because the sky is blue. So you've got to have a magenta that leans toward the blue, not a pyro red that leans toward the yellow, because if it's leaning toward yellow and you put it against the blue, you just combine all three of the primaries and you're going to get a brownish color. It won't look like a sunset. It'll look very dark, you know. And one of the big complaints I get from beginning students is that I end up with mud all the time.
Yeah.
I know. And so this is why this is very important, because the reason, and we'll do some mud in a few minutes, but the reason that you end up with mud is you've combined all three primaries. Somehow you have combined all three primaries. Maybe it's by putting a cool red with a warm blue, you know, because it's bringing in some yellow. So you have to be really careful about that. But anyway, so do your next color wheel, and then I'll talk a little bit about some things you can learn from this color wheel. Okay, I think most of you are done, or close to being done with your two color wheels. And I want to just say a few things about it because this is informative. One, you can get different color combinations if you know where colors are on the color wheel. For instance, if you want complementary colors, which are the most contrasting colors, you go across on the color wheel. Red is complementary to green. Okay, yellow is complementary to violet. Blue is complementary to orange. And so those would be high contrast colors. There's another group of colors that I use a lot, and I will probably, at some point you'll hear me say, you need to have analogous colors on these. We were just talking about the fact that your painting is going to be more powerful if you limit the colors. If you use every color on the color wheel, it's going to look very childlike, because children use every color in their coloring box, and that's the way it comes out. But if you limit the colors, it's going to have more harmony, it's going to go better. And one of the ways to limit it is to use analogous colors. And what the analogous colors are, the 5 colors that are next to each other on the color wheel. And so it can be any combination, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I think there are 12 different combinations. So think about that when you're limiting colors, to limit it into 5 that are right next to each other on the color wheel. It really makes your painting work much better. I did one of the lessons that I did last time in my class was one brand new lesson for me. I got it out of Watercolor Magazine, I think, or something, one of the magazines that I take. And it was to make a painting with just 2 colors. And the paintings came out so good from the students because they only had 2 colors. They mixed those colors together, and they could put white with it too. I didn't have to use black, but white, and we used contrast. We used a warm color and a cool color. So we used, what was it? It was ultramarine blue, and actually it was burnt umber, so it was a neutral and a cool. But that neutral was warm. So warm and cool together, a darker color, and a lighter color. But those are the only 2 colors they used. And the paintings, you would have never believed that they were only made with two colors. They were beautiful. And what they had is harmony, and it's the hardest thing to get for artists, is to get a harmony in a piece. And one of the ways you do it is by limiting the number of colors you use. I kind of recommend that you keep this with you to kind of check on what you're doing with the colors as you go through the lessons that we're going to have. And one of the next lessons we're going to have is mixing colors, and you have to have a lot of different colors on there, but they need to be harmonious, and so I'm going to recommend that you use analogous colors when you do that. Now, the next thing I'm going to have you do is, if you just take a pencil and draw lines, 1, 2, 3, 4, around each 4, I want you to have some experience with neutrals. And what I want you to do is mix all 3 primaries together, but emphasize 1 in each of the 3 sections. So this one has red, yellow, and blue in it, but there's a little more yellow in it. And so you just add a little more yellow to it, and so you get this tan color. This one has a little more red in it, so you get a kind of a russet color. This one has a little more blue in it, so you get a bluish color. So just do that to have a little experience with neutrals. Neutrals are really important, and even though people kind of complain about having mud in their paintings, you need a little neutral in the painting to offset the color. So it's good to have practice with it. So do that next, and do them on each of your 2. This is the last assignment we have for today. And some of you, if you look on the back of your color wheel, you have something like this, a little grid pattern. If you don't have it, I'm going to give you one. So anyway, I'll bring them around. I'll just make them up. They're not hard to make up. But there are 3 little rectangular places split into squares. And what I want you to do is, there are 9 squares, or they're not squares, rectangles, but take any color you want and put it in the middle. Take another color, put it in the middle, and take another color, put it in the middle. And then at this end, put white in the last one. You're not even going to see it because it's on white paper. Put black on this side. And you're going to be mixing tints and shades. Tints are white mixed with a color. You can pick any color off your color wheel and start mixing a little bit of white, a little more white, a little more white, until it's completely white. So that's going to give you a series of tints. Do the same thing on this side. Add a little black, a little more black, a little more black, a little more black, till it becomes completely black. So that's another combination of colors that you can do. And you just using black, white, and 1 color. And you can pick the primary, secondary, or tertiary color, whichever colors you like the best, and go ahead and do that across this. We only have 45 minutes left, so I think this is our last assignment for this time period. So take your time with it and just do a very careful job. There should be incremental changes in the tints and shades as you go across.
While the beginning students were working on basic color wheel, my more advanced students are working on combinations of secondary colors to make tertiary colors. And so what they had to do on these 3 sections of the paper are to combine orange and green, 2 secondary colors, to make a citrine. Then to combine violet and green to make an olive. And then to combine orange and violet to make a russet. Those are 3 tertiary colors, very neutral. The next step is to take 2 of those colors, those secondary colors, and combine them in different combinations to make as many different variations. This is the orange and violet selection, and there are just hundreds of different variations you can get from that. If you are using these variations in a painting, it will look good because there will be harmony amongst the colors. The next combination was taking orange and green and combining them in a variety of different amounts of each, and so that you can come up with this many different colors. And again, you have some that are very going to go well with each other if you put them in a painting. The The last set of variations are violet and green. And so again, combining different amounts of violet with green, you can come up with all of these different colors. The last set in this series of exercises is to choose one of the tertiary colors that you've created and mix it in all the different ways and combine it with red and black to make an interesting composition. Notice how the colors harmonize in this composition. They all go together because they're just made up of two secondary colors. Limiting your colors makes your paintings much more elegant.